Hello, hello. I cannot hear anybody, but here I am. Okay. I cannot hear anybody. Is anybody out there? Oh, okay. Hi there, everybody. This is Walfredo Reyes Jr., and I am in 𝗟𝗑𝗦 Stories. And thank you for tuning in. They're communicating with me on the right side. I'm going to have to put my glasses to read this small print. So this is going to be exciting. And thank you so much for being here. I'm in my little home studio right now where I record and teach online. All right. So I'm just going to wait for the questions and the interview. And I hope everybody out there is healthy and safe. Let me see. My story is I was born in Havana, Cuba, raised in Puerto Rico until age 13. I moved to Las Vegas with my family. My dad was a professional, still is a professional drummer percussionist. And that's my dad and me when I was 1 in Cuba. I always had family around on all sides of my family. And I wanted to be a vet when I was a child. But at age 12, something like that, I told my dad I want drum lessons. So he put me with a metronome and a practice pad and a book of rudiments. And I was also playing percussion for fun at that time. So percussion and drums all the time. And I was a rocker. I started playing drums because I wanted to play like the Beatles, Rolling Stone, Guess Who, Chicago, Cream, all the sound that was coming out of the radio. So I mowed lawns to make extra money. And with my first $10 that they paid me, I bought my first record, which was CTA. Isn't that something? I never in my imagination thought that I was going to be playing with Chicago. And my third record that I bought, also mowing lawns, was 𝗟𝗑𝗦. And again, if you would have told me then you're going to be playing with this band someday, I would have said no way. But life continues, and I got into music really deeply. We moved to Las Vegas, and I started really getting deep. And in high school, in college, I went to UNLV. And all the time, as I was studying private lessons, playing music in high school, and then later on in UNLV in the jazz ensemble, which was an award-winning jazz ensemble, I was working at night in top 40 bands. My first gig on percussion while I was still in high school was with big legendary star, Debbie Reynolds. Then I started working later on with Lola Falana when I was in college. So I started traveling on the road with many performers, Lola Falana, Doc Severinsen, Paul Anka. And as all my friends were in LA, I knew Alex Acuna, Luis Conte. They were living in LA. I wanted to move to LA to pursue a studio career. And so I did move to LA while I was on the road with Ben Vereen. And I was in LA in 1980. I was working with Marilyn McCoo also, and just doing sessions. I met this drummer, Carlos Vega, which helped me in the studio scene in LA. And then I haven't stopped. That's what I've been doing in my career, just playing and playing. I don't hear anybody, but I don't know if there's anybody out there. Let me just. Okay. Oh, look at this, Dwayne. All right. Hello. So I stopped. You can show the picture of UNLV while I was in UNLV. Damn. All right. That was 1975. And we went to Europe, Montreux Jazz Festival. We had an amazing jazz ensemble, and we had guests that were living in Las Vegas, like Monk Montgomery, Carl Fontana, trombone player, excellent. Louis Belson came and did clinics and concerts with us. Those were amazing learning years. Alex Acuna was also living in Las Vegas at that time. Don Elias used to come in, and we used to have jam sessions at my dad's house with all the percussionists. So I was living such a full time, 1975, 76. It was that was the UNLV band with my teacher, Frank Gagliardi, which was a percussion teacher. And that was me right there. And I didn't even recognize myself. So playing at night until 4 in the morning, starting at music theory at 8 in the morning, jazz ensemble at 5, music all day, go home, eat dinner, get a lesson with my dad or with a teacher, and going back to the club or work at night from 9 to after hours. My education at UNLV was completely round. I had a lot of Latin percussion and folkloric music and hip drum lessons, getting together with Alex Acuna at home. And my teacher, Leo Camera, my private teacher, he was a percussionist of the Hilton. But at UNLV, I was in the symphony band, the concert band, the marching band, the jazz ensemble, the percussion ensemble. So I was studying everything. So I was studying mallets, timpani, Latin percussion, Brazilian percussion. I was keeping up with all the trends when Chick Corea had 𝗟𝗡𝗘, Moreira. I went to all the junkyards, toy stores, collected percussion instruments. So it was like I got really deeply into the world of percussion, including drum set. So I never separated like percussion and the drum set. It was all, if you can strike it, whether it's a coffee cup or a cymbal or a hand drum or a animal skin drum, that was percussion. I can use it to make music. So that's my formative years. I cut UNLV short when I was working at night on percussion with different shows in Las Vegas. and I auditioned for Lola Falana, which was a big star in Las Vegas. And then she needed to travel on the road. So I remember my dad saying, oh, no, you got to continue and get your degree. Stars will come and go, but education is now. And I remember I said, but Dad, have you ever sat on the drum set behind Lola Falana? That doesn't come and go. I mean, this is like now. And so I took the gig and I worked with Lola Falana, and at the same time, Doc Severinsen when he played Las Vegas with Luis Conte on percussion. 77, 78, and 79. And then that was right there is when 1984, that was when I joined David Lindley and El Rayo X. And that's a little more forward. 1984, I was in LA already, and working with David Lindley, I used to work a lot of shows in Las Vegas and jazz sessions all around. But with David Lindley, he introduced me to a lot of rock artists. So on my first gig, like that photo right there, that was my old Slingerland graffiti set. My first gig with David Lindley, Joe Walsh, Jackson Browne, Bunny Raitt were there. And I worked with David Lindley 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. And we opened for the Grateful Dead. And one of those jobs, we opened for Santana and the Grateful Dead. And that's when I first met Carlos. I knew Orestes Vilato and Armando Peraza, but Carlos saw me play with David Lindley, and then they contacted me in 1988, at the end of 88, 89, to join Santana in 89. So that was a very important year. My son Joseph was born at the end of 1989, so a lot of things happened in 1989. And there's a little video actually on one of the concerts that we did in 1992, and you can show that. Craziness. Yeah, we had a lot of great times with Santana. When I joined Santana, it was Armando Peraza on congas and Chepito Arias, the original percussionist with Santana. And he left in 89. And then in 1990, 91, I put the timbales on my left. So it was me on drum set and timbales and Armando Peraza. And then Carl Perazo came in with Raul Recco, 1992, 93. And we had, all those bands were amazing. There's no one bad band with Santana. It was just like, it's kind of like Weather Report. You know, all the bands are amazing, and everybody brings their own character and enhancement of the music. So while I was with Santana, I also worked with Buzzcocks, 1991, and Gloria Estefan. And because, you know, touring is not the whole year. So you tour and you stop and you do other things. And so in LA, I really had a really busy life. In 1991, my daughter Liliana was born, and she was, so now it's Joseph and Liliana has become a singer, LP artist. My son Joseph is a drummer, a singer, composer. He's a complete artist himself. And so in 1993, I did about 3 or 4 records with Santana, live in Mexico City, Milagro, Brothers album, Spirits Dancing in the Flesh. And in 1994, I joined Traffic. I got a call to play percussion and drums. So they needed a person to not just be a drummer that kind of plays a little percussion, but you had to play percussion, hand drums, djembe, because Traffic, the band Traffic with Steve Winwood, had 𝗟𝗑𝗦𝗘 𝗥𝗑𝗬𝗘, which was from Ghana. And, you know, he was a serious percussionist. And Jim Capaldi wanted to play drums on some songs, and then he wanted me to play drums on other songs. So we interchanged back and forth. So 1994 was a big, huge tour of Traffic. We opened 11 concerts, stadium concerts with the Grateful Dead. We did Woodstock 94. And then in 1995, I did a tour with Robbie Robertson and the the Red Road Ensemble, which was dedicated to songs about the Native American. Robbie Robertson, a lot of people don't know, but he's part Native American. So that was 1995, and it was a fantastic tour. I had a mixture. I've always played percussion and drums, and sometimes I mix percussion and drums together. Because what happens is, like, sometimes on recordings, you overdub percussion, but then the budget does not allow 5 percussionists. So you have to fatten your groove with some percussion and create the illusion that there's more percussion. A lot of people today play through tracks. You can put all percussion in the tracks, and then you can play with those tracks. But sometimes you have to recreate percussion and drums together. So in 1995, that tour with Robbie Robertson, I was playing Native American drums. I would put a lot of stuff on my wrist and tambourines and all kinds of different things, and to create a percussion drum set beat. And so, by the way, I'm sitting on a cajon right now. Percussion is everywhere. So 1996, 97, I was freelancing a lot in LA. And in 1996. In 1997, Steve Winwood called me to get back his band, but it was a Steve Winwood music, not Traffic only. So we had a 10-piece band, and I worked extensively with Steve in 1997, 98, 99. And we toured a lot. In 1999, in 94, by the way, while I was playing that big tour with Traffic, my third child, Gabriel, was born at the end of 1994. So I did this whole huge tour of Traffic 1994. And then the biggest gift with my son, Gabriel, being born. And so I worked with Steve Winwood until 99. In 2000, I worked with a tour with Johnny Hallyday, big artist in France. And that was hard rock on the drums. The crazy thing about playing drums and percussion, as you can see, this is perfectly me. I have drums on one side, and I have percussion here. So my room is all full of percussion. Somebody said you're like a one-man orchestra, but it is. It's you have to think like the piano keys, you know, drums, cowbells, sounds, everything, all kinds of sounds. With Johnny Hallyday, it was more like hard rock drum set. So when you play that, you miss percussion. When I play percussion, I miss drums. So the challenge is always to keep up with all the instruments and all the techniques and muscle memory. In 2001, I was in LA freelancing a lot and playing a lot of sessions. And I started back with Steve Winwood on a smaller group with the album About Time. And that was more like a Traffic jam band kind of album. 2002, 3, and 4. At the end of 2004, I decided I was giving so many in between tours, percussion and drum set lessons and clinics, and I decided to put it on a DVD. Walfredo Reyes. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. So basically, it's called Global Beats. And the reason I decided to do that is how to incorporate some percussion rhythms on your drum set. And in that DVD, Kevin Ricard and my brother Danny de los Reyes is on percussion. And it has a beginning, intermediate, and advanced section. And it's rhythms of the world. And so I started, that DVD came out, and I wanted to continue recording. Oh, thank you, Ken. I wanted to continue recording all that music more perfectly and add more music to it. So then I came up with this Walfredo Reyes Jr. Wally World. And this right here is like, when you put your headphones on, it starts in Venezuela, funky New Orleans. Then it goes to Cuba with rock, the maracatu, northern Brazil. We go to Afro-China vision, Africa, the Caribbean, Cuba, New York, LA, and then it ends in India. So it's like a trip around the world without going to the airport. So it's a really cool CD with many, many great players. Jimmy Haslip, Alfonso Johnson on bass, Michael Thompson, my daughter singing there. There's so many great players. It's unbelievable, and I'm so blessed. Thank you, Jackie. So that's Wally World. And the mixer, which I still have an incredible relation audio-wise, is one of the most incredibly talented mixers, engineer, Johnny C. Les Cranfield. He's in LA, and he's getting really big. Pretty soon I won't be able to afford him anymore. And so he mixed the CD. He was the central person who got all these different tracks of the world put together to make the CD. And so that was like 2004. 2005, I went all over China with my last drum company, Mapex Drums, and I did a whole world tour. Started Mexico, went down all the way Central America, South America, hopped to Australia, and then China. And that was an incredible experience. In a way, that Wally World CD is global beats that I have been influenced with all my travel with all these artists. And so then 2007, thank you, Matthew. 2007, I worked with Mickey Hart that I had met playing with Santana and David Lindley. And so that was an amazing tour, 2007. And then I joined Lindsey Buckingham Band, which was a mixture of percussion with like this cajon. Lindsey, I sat on a cajon and play electronic samples because he wanted 13 drum set sounds. And so the only way to give all these different drum set sounds with percussion was to create it with the Roland kit. And I worked with Lindsey from 2007 to 2011. And in 2012, I joined Chicago on percussion. And I've been with Chicago ever since 2012. In 2018, I joined Chicago on drum set. So now I'm playing drum set. So that's almost like my life right there. And in between Chicago gigs, I did another CD. I used to get this the funkiest dudes, that very versatile guys. And we used to have jammings for fun while in between Chicago tours. And I went to the Baked Potato and recorded jamming at the Baked Potato. And this, it's jamming at the Baked Potato. There's no original tunes. They're all covers. When I was living in LA, the traffic is so bad that sometimes everybody's life is all over the place. So we arrived at the Baked Potato and says, what do you guys want to do? He goes, hey, let's do this tune. And we just did like a Led Zeppelin tune, a Police tune, a Bob Marley tune, a Sade tune, and they're all covers. And again, Johnny C. Les Cranfield mixed the CD. And I'm very proud of both CDs. And you can definitely download them. I don't think they're even on sale hard copy, but if you send me a message, I have CDs that I can send you. So in case you cannot get them out there, because these days it's really hard to get CDs hard copy. Downloads are easy. So yeah, so I've been having an amazing time. A lot of people say, wow, you have lived your dream. I go back. Sometimes you don't stop and think and go back, but all the artists that I have worked with, and I've been so blessed to follow my family tradition of my dad, all my family tradition, and I'm very blessed and that dreams have come true, because when I used to sit as a kid staring at CTA and then Chicago too, and just dream that I didn't even dream that I was going to be in that band. I dreamed to be in something like that. Like, wouldn't that be amazing to play for live audience, this music like this? I've always wanted to be a percussionist and a drummer to make music for people. I did not want to never be a virtuoso. I was not interested at the beginning of my life. I was not interested in the beginning of my life to be a virtuoso or to be famous. I just wanted to play music for people to enjoy. It's really ironic. There's a photo. There it is. So this is me when I was like 18, while I was studying percussion. I was studying mallets, and in my little studio in Las Vegas, there was a poster of Chicago, and I was playing Chicago songs, the melodies of the songs. And somebody told me one time, isn't that the power of attraction, visualization? You know, I never really thought it like that, but maybe it was. You dream it, and you get closer to it, and you go for it. And if it doesn't happen, you got other things that can happen. I mean, it's like you go to the supermarket and you have something in mind, and if they don't have oranges, you go to the blueberry section. And if they don't have blueberries, then you go to another section, you make apple pie. But you have to continue to be creative and work with what you want out of life and what life brings you also. So our thank you, Jerry. You have to create, be grateful, and pursue your dreams realistically, of course. You know, my dream of becoming a billionaire while I'm watching TV has not become a reality yet. I wonder why. You know, that's not a realistic dream. You have to work really hard. And sometimes you think you're working really hard. Like Louis Belson one time told me, how many hours a day you practice? He goes, well, I study a lot and play and go to school and this and that. So I would say I spend in my studio like 4 hours a day. He goes, well, that's a lot until you meet the kid that spends 10 hours a day. in his studio. And at the end of the year, my dad used to have a judo. We used to do judo when we were kids. So my dad put in the refrigerator, while you're not practicing, someone else is. When you two shall meet, guess who will win? And that really played a psychic trip on my head. Every time I was watching TV and an hour went by, and I said, "Whoa, that was a really cool TV show," but I didn't get any practice done. So you can always practice. By the way, this is for Chicago fans that told me they'll know what I mean if you actually go back and see Chicago drum solos. There you go. So yes, we've been traveling a lot since 2012, on and off 8 years, 8 months a year with Chicago, and these guys have it very well. It's a very well-oiled machinery after 50-something years on the road. So we don't do more than 4 weeks, usually 3 weeks the most, and come back home. Does that cost more? Yeah, sometimes it does, but it doesn't cost in divorces, and it doesn't bankrupt relationships, especially with children. It's very difficult to be a road musician on tour. You cannot have it all. You cannot go to your children's baseball games and basketball games and be there for them and be a road musician on the road and do recordings and travel the world. You cannot do both great. So, I've always thought myself as a part-time everything. Part-time dog owner, because I would leave, the dog will get sick, my kids would miss me, and they would cry. So I was a part-time dad, part-time drummer, part-time percussionist, part-time husband, part-time son, part-time nephew, because you can't do it all full-time. It cannot. Something's got to give. You know what I'm saying? That's my challenge right here. So right back there, right now, since COVID-19, I've been getting into something that I should have done many years ago, which is learning how to record myself and getting into Logic Pro X. And so I have this laptop, by the way, sitting on top of my 2 congas with a snare case. So this laptop goes over there, and I put it behind my drum set, and I record myself. I've been doing tracks on percussion and on drum set for people. I already done 2 great jobs, and so I'm still learning a lot. And sometimes when I'm on Logic's learning from YouTube and this and that, my drums are calling me, "Hey, when are you gonna play me? I miss you." So I'm there like studying Logic and saying I'd rather be playing. And when I start playing drums and I start cutting tracks on drums, the percussion, the congas here, and the cajon, and the percussion bags, everybody's saying like, "When are you gonna play me? I miss you. Play me now." So, that's the challenge of musicians, to try to be the best you can be on so many instruments, because when you need to, it's like a chef. You need to learn. If you have a restaurant, I always compare myself with a chef. I don't want to be just a guy that just makes hot dogs, or a guy that just knows 2 beats. I mean, if I get lucky and I join a band and those 2 beats become famous, that's amazing. But I always wanted to be like a chef, a person that has a restaurant and somebody orders pancakes, somebody orders arroz con pollo, Puerto Rican food, habichuela colorada, chow mein from China. I mean, you now are a world chef that knows the secret of the sauces and the spices and all that. So when I'm going to do a Brazilian recording on percussion and drums, I know what ingredients and what colors and sounds and flavors to bring to the session. When it's going to be something really rock, loud, well, I get my 24-inch bass drum, take the tape off of the drums and the snare. And so that's what we do. That's why right here, this sign, LP, when you go to 𝗟𝗡𝗙.com, a lot of people that are not musicians, I send them there and they're fascinated. I mean, they say, wow, I wanted to buy a tambourine, but I spent an hour. And I said, what do you mean you spent an hour? And so basically they start going into all these instruments and they Google where are they from and what are they? And that opens up a whole other history of the country, the people, the culture. So if you go to 𝗟𝗡𝗙.com, each of those instruments that you see, when you see cajon, when you see clave, when you see cachichi from Brazil, when you see timbales, when you see all these instruments represent music, culture, people, tradition, history, and they have a story. Each instrument is an amazing company that I'm very proud of to be with. And I've always been, my first picture with LP was 1974 when I traveled to New York, and Nelson, a tres player with Típica 73, took me to LP, and Martin Cohen shot a photo of me. And I went back the other day and I can't believe it. That's a lot of years together. So it's amazing. Is there any questions out there anybody wants to ask? I'd love to get into different thoughts or thank you, Dwayne. If there's any questions, I'll be happy. I of course, I have my special cowbell here, and John Aldridge, that does all this engraving, did this for me. So I don't play this cowbell too much because I don't want to mess it up, but definitely more cowbell for you. Yes, it's an amazing experience and an amazing blessings. And now since COVID, by the way, I got married March 21st. We thought it was going to be a wedding after my first leg of the tour with Chicago. Chicago started in Las Vegas this year, and we had a big tour with Rick Springfield starting in June to August, and we had a full year. So Kirsten, my beautiful wife, and I decided, let's get married after the first leg of the tour. And we had everything planned right here in Northern Kentucky, Newport, where we live right now, across the river from Cincinnati, where she's from. And coronavirus hit hard and everything got closed. So we got married in the middle of the pandemic. We had to cancel all the festivities, catering, flights, everything. And we went ahead and got married and walked home to a 3-month honeymoon. So like I said before, you have to be ready to be creative. And when you cannot do that, then you have to be ready to be creative over here. And if that doesn't work, be creative over here. So I became a fantastic, sometimes fantastic. I became a better cook, better chef, better gardener. I learned a lot from plants and flowers. Lesson number 1, you got to invest. You got to water. You got to take care. And you got to work hard if you want your garden, fruit or flowers to pop. It's just like music, the root, and then the rest comes. So the deeper you feed the root, the more flowers and fruit you get. So it's just like in music. And here I am recording, teaching, and waiting for all this to open. And Chicago will be back in 2021 better and stronger than ever. So there's a question somewhere. My favorite musical memory. Well, I don't have one favorite musical memory. I have so many. Of course, the energy of playing live. I love recording. I love doing records and then listening to it back when all is done from a different point of view. My one of the most incredible experiences were when I was with Santana and Rock in Rio. That audience, it was like 200 and something, like 240,000 people in that Maracanã stadium. And that was 2 concerts we did. Robert Plant got sick, so we did a second concert with Prince, and Pat Metheny and Jovan from Brazil were there with us. We play for that audience, and it was just like incredible when you have an interchange with the audience, and they don't know you personally, and I don't know them. I'm not telling them to do anything, but when you do something and they react back, and there's like 250. The same thing happened with Johnny Hallyday in France, in Paris, in front of the Eiffel Tower. You can see that Johnny Hallyday Eiffel Tower 2000 concert, and that was 500,000 people, and it's a sea of people, and the energy is undescribable. So after that, you definitely learn a lot. But what I've also learned is that I will play my ass off in front of 5, 50, 500, 5,000, 500,000, because I'll play like it's the last day of my life anytime I sit behind my instrument. But those 2 memories come to mind, and there's been many with many different artists, different concerts that are just like in the zone, everything's perfect, and you say, oh my God, did somebody recorded this? This was magic. One of the memories that are really in my mind is like those instances where you work so hard on your instrument and you're playing with the band after all the rehearsals and the time investment, and then the magic of music happens where the music and your instrument play through you, and you're basically an automatic pilot. And sometimes I'm here and the hands and feet are going with what you're hearing, and you're saying to yourself, I don't understand what's happening here, but I don't know if I can repeat this ever because I cannot control it. It's just happening. And that's when the magic of music really hits. And it's bigger than the instrument, the human, the gear, the electricity, the drum heads, technique. It's bigger than that. When the magic of music happens because of all these ingredients and all this investment of practicing and playing together and gelling together, and then this music takes over, the concert finishes, and sometimes I go, that will never happen in this lifetime again, not in the same way. And hopefully that's what you want to capture when you do a recording. So those are memories that I love. Is there another question? Was that, how did you develop your sense of independence to play clave in one hand and foot and solo with your other limbs? Well, that's one of the reasons, because of these questions, is why I created this. So not only clave, but what happens is, and this is a really crazy story. The first time that I set up a drum set, I was playing when I was 13, and my dad left to Las Vegas, and I set up the drum set. And my first record that I was trying to emulate on the drum set was Honky Tonk Woman by the Rolling Stones. So I had the hi-hat, snare, bass drum. So when I heard it, I heard gotcha, gotcha. But before that, there's a cowbell. Gong, ging, ging, gong, ging, ging, gong, ging, ging, pa, boom, gotcha, boom. So Charlie Watts doesn't hit the hi-hat when he hits two. So I thought that Charlie Watts was actually playing cowbell and drum set. So that was the most difficult beat ever. So I sat on the drum set with the right hand playing hi-hat and snare. And then figure out gong, ging, ging, gong, ging, ging, gong, ging, 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 gong, ging. So I said, man, that's really difficult. But how you start is basically if you can actually play a beat on your left hand and then play like that beat. So basically you're playing. You can play on the cowbell, on the tambourine, and then you develop playing a simple groove with your left hand and your feet, and then playing cowbell, tambourine, wood blocks, whatever, and adding to that beat. And then the more you start doing that, you start developing, and you can do some fills on the timbales or on the bongos. So you can use that tambourine sometimes, like with your left hand. So you can start adding, and little by little the independence grows and you start doing things. And that's why in the beginning section of that DVD I explained some exercise of independence for that. So I hope that answers your question. Is there another question? Those are really good questions, because it's something that you can use. When I was with David Lindley, I put the timbales on the left. We used to do a lot of ska, like reggae ska. And I used to play percussion with the left hand while I was playing the drum set and filling on timbales. So when you heard the recording, you would think that there was a percussionist and a drummer. And I was not trying to get the gig off of the percussionist. I wish we would have hired 2 or 3 percussionists, but that was not possible. So that's why the world of percussion is so beautiful. And today, if you know the ingredients, sometimes you can play 2 or 3. So and by the way, sometimes, like I'm doing here, I have done all my life. Sometimes they call me for a percussion session, and sometimes they call me for a drum set session, and they say, hey, can you recommend a percussionist? He goes, well, what do you need? He goes, well, some tambourine and colors and shaker. He goes, well, I can recommend somebody, but I can do it too. Sometimes they like I'm doing this job right now coming up, if Bill May is listening, and he's asking me to play drums and percussion. So sometimes not all fits in the car, which is funny. I says, I don't have a big truck, so sometimes when I play drums and percussion, I can only bring so much. But yeah, sometimes it's not about, I've seen amazing instrumentalists out there, and we're living at a time that, like the recording, people expect you to do everything now. Hey, can you send me some tracks on percussion and drums? Well, that takes microphones, engineering, that takes knowledge of recording, that takes having different drum sets for different kinds of music, different percussion for different kinds of music. So when now it's not like I need a conga player and a bongo player and a timbale player to go into this recording studio and record. It's not the times we're living. They send you the music on an MP3 with a click, and you put percussion and drum set. You use Venmo and PayPal, and they're happy with the track, and it goes on a CD, and you did it from home. And that's 2020. I still love, more than anything, to have a group of musicians in a recording studio with amazing microphones, a great room, and a great engineer. And I just concentrate on playing my instrument with the other percussionists. But that's not what's happening every day. So, all right. Well, we're going to show a little video of Chicago. And this is with a little webcam that I put on my drum set, and the audio from my in-ear mix. And I hope you enjoy it, and hopefully we can see you with Chicago on tour in 2021. And I want to thank all my mentors and teachers and all the musicians, percussionists, drummers. And I want to thank LP for supporting me all around the world and backing me up on my clinics and educational events and on tour. So I'm very grateful. I hope that you all stay healthy, strong, safe, and we will be back 2021 even stronger and better. Take care.